Hi guys, my name is John Amaral and I'm doing my lesson plan tutorial on calculating tip. I teach here at the Riverview School in East Sandwich, Mass. I'm actually live in my classroom. It's closed down week, so I thought what a great place to actually film the mini lesson plan. So with my kids at my school, there's a huge emphasis on consumer-related math and hands-on math. We still teach algebra, pre-algebra, geometry, those concepts to the high school age students that I have, but there's still a huge focus, whether it's in their IEPs or not, on consumer math that they can actually apply out of the classroom as well in daily life skills. And a big one that's on the IEPs of my students is calculating tax, tip, discount, and some interest. At the very beginning of the year, we started with tip, but before we got there, I needed to see what kind of skills they were bringing into class, what they knew and what they did not know, what gaps needed to be filled. So we started off working with percents and decimals as well as fractions. Practice moving the decimal, changing percents to decimals, and the whole concept of percent or per 100. Explained that, or took Latin in school, but how I explained it to them was percent, or cent meaning 100, that our money is out of 100. Sure, there's plenty of percents that go into the hundreds and thousands, but we only really care about the hundredth value here when we talk about money. So calculating, or I should say transferring, moving that decimal, a lot of work there, into the hundredths column, and then rounding up the thousands and 10,000s column to be that extra penny in some cases. So that was the bridge work there. We spent maybe a good week and a half on this in the very beginning of the school year. My class maxes out at 8 kids. I have one math class a day, 8 students, so I'm able to give those students with learning challenges more of my time, more of my attention. I can really know if they're mastering concepts. When I felt comfortable, and when they felt comfortable with their skills, we started talking about how this applies to everyday math. And how I did that, as you notice, I have my board where the work goes, and then I have, well, it's dwindled down just to one page, but I have loads of chart papers. I need a new one for next year, but here's one we talked about here. So kind of like the Socratic seminar, we just took the first part of class just as a discussion of what's a tip, who gets one? And this is a list that my students made there. So waiters and waitresses, of course, the big one, the 20% magic number with tips, you want to give at least that, right? So not only is this a math lesson, it becomes a social lesson as well. And then my students with social disabilities, serves them there too. But delivery drivers also get a tip. How much do you tip somebody like that? Hotels, the barber, hairdresser. I was so proud of them. This is something that they did here, talking about who gets a tip, how do we find that tip? Where does that come from there? Then, many times, we went through, and I made this one smaller so I could post this every day. The steps of finding a tip, finding the original food bill cost. Let's just say $10 because we're just doing this real quick. And then as they became more confident, more advanced in their skills, we started adding weird amounts of change because we never get bills that are right on the dollar. Sometimes we do, but I need to multiply the 20%. They know how to move that decimal. And then the total is added on at the end. We all know that. But I keep this posted because this is a math class, not a vocabulary class, okay? So I want them to feel confident in their math skills. So they can look back at this anytime. I keep this one posted. That's why I made it on a smaller cheap piece of chart paper. If I had a bigger one here of some sort of new concept, I'd have the math and work problems here. We'd be doing this together. Then I would base homework and independent work in class on the concepts that we're talking about. We spent almost all year mastering tax, tip, discount, interest as the concepts got more involved. You can make finding the tip as easier or as complex as you want, adding different people into your word problems there. Now there's a breakdown. My students are great math students. They're very math-minded. Some of them have reading disabilities, so word problems aren't their thing. A simple word problem with simple math might be twice as difficult based on the language there. So when we work in class, I provide the word problem. I provide the story. I write down the math. We have math learners, number people, word people. When I make, more anchor charts, more charts paper before we try anything. Always include that wordage, right? You gotta have your wordage, obviously. But I always make the math or the numbers in different colors to differentiate them. I also add pictures. The tip one doesn't have pictures, but pictures help. Visual aids, visual learners, try to accommodate everybody. And as the steps changed, this one's for discount there, I would have them apply what they know. The first two steps are always the same, and once they were confident in that, everything seemed to click. Finding the cost, the original cost or the food bill cost, know what the price is. Changing your percent to a decimal, whether it was 50% off, a 20% tip. They were confident in moving the decimal 2 places. The third step is where there was a little bit of a breakdown. Discount. I use a mnemonic device. Discount going down, D, discount, D, down. You are subtracting that price off. You're saving that money. Another breakdown that was tricky, that we had to go back. We had to go back to our knowledge about converting decimals. I'm going to leave that there, actually. I just ripped it. Was tax. Here in Massachusetts, tax is 6.25%, I believe, right? And my school's residential. I have students from all over the country, actually. So different tax rates from different states for the kids. Just in my math class alone, I had kids from 4 different states. Here in Mass, Connecticut, which was very similar, New York, which was very similar, and Florida, which was different. Having the decimal in the percentage was tricky. It took about 2 weeks or so for them to know that there, and because it caused some confusion. Like, do I need to move the decimal again? Do I not? So that was tricky there. How I broke this down to accommodate each of the students. Now the students are organized and classified in my school at different math levels and reading levels, but in this case math. The students in my class are probably some of the higher students, but still, the differentiated instruction helps them. Some students got this right away. Some students did not. I would have 2 homeworks every night. They'd only get 1. I would print, and a lot of these I would make myself because I want to accommodate the word problems if they're too wordy or worded differently, so they're confusing on purpose. I try to eliminate that as much as possible. We're learning math here. We're not trying to be riddled. One of the forms of the homework would have exactly what we talked about in class, nothing ever further. And then the other would be the days prior, or a prior concept. Based on the reaction of my students in my class, I would assign the homework that I felt was necessary. If today was a good day, we had everybody almost on point, seemed to be good, awesome. If it was a Monday or a Friday, and we were feeling maybe a little tired, a little sluggish or whatever, the weekend's in our minds, or in one way or another, maybe the review homework would be better. My homeworks, usually, when there were tax tip and discount themes, 4 problems. Never more than that. When it was converting decimals, and percents, and vice versa, maybe around 10 or 12. I don't want to overwhelm my students. They can be easily flustered, although they are capable. So this was a great experience teaching them this year, because not only did we do hypothetical examples in the class, and did we just talk about it in our seminar together, we actually got to go out and apply it. We have vehicles at our school that the teachers are certified to drive. We can take the students out in the community. We have such small groups that you don't need a chaperone, 7 to 8 kids. You can actually see how this is applied. They're applying discount trips to the Cape Cod Mall, and tax trips, same, and tip when you take them out to lunch. And it's great. So really positive teaching that. And it was a great break from the monotony of their other math. I taught pre-algebra, and although the kids enjoyed it and they did a great job with it, leveling this out for them individually, working in the book, it can get boring, but this was very hands-on. They reacted and learned a lot. I'm super proud of each and every one of them. And I'm just glad I had this opportunity to talk about it. And that's basically how I would teach it next year as well, and then accommodate it any way that I would need to meet those students there. But the way I outlined it there in my lesson plan module, starting from the smallest concepts to the other ones, where it became more and more applied, but always going back to talking about where it can be applied in real life. Who gets that tip? Where can you find a discount? Where would you want to have a discount? What is taxed? Who gets taxed? Why do we have it? And then as our banking unit started, calculating interest. It's the same as finding a tip, only you keep it for yourself. And they loved those concepts because they're real. For sources for my material, I used my own school's, supplied textbook, the Globe Fearon activity book there, and as well as the class assigned textbooks by Premier, although I used the 3rd edition there. So I appreciate anyone who viewed this, and I look forward to seeing all of yours. So thank you very much, and I hope you all have a great summer. Thank you so much.